You are listening to the Maple Footy podcast. This is the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me at official Sam Little on Instagram. There's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, yes, welcome back to the Maple Footy podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North, of course. And as we are the unofficial football podcast of the North, I figure, obviously, that I should probably do a recap for the Mexico-Canada game. And yeah, it was a pretty lackluster way to end, I would say, overall a pretty positive window. It was a dull game against Mexico, but it was still a draw. And we did still beat the States, guys. And yes, I will probably beat that dead horse a little, but I need to do something. We beat the States. I can't just let us all forget about that. But yeah, it was a rather dull, drab, boring match against our CONCACAF compatriots in Mexico. And I mean, I'm kind of struggling here to find things to talk about as I was kind of taking notes on the game, because it wasn't an eventful match. I've seen eventful 0-0s before, but this was not that. But we will talk about the game, our international break, some positives and negatives, and then move into player by player. So of course, let's talk about our second and final match of the September window. The positives, there aren't a whole ton, as it was a pretty bland 0-0, but definitely a positive is this solidified that I think we have two class goalkeepers in Crépeau and St. Clair. We've known this on Maple Footy, of course, but this match was once again just 100% proof of that. St. Clair wasn't called upon a whole ton, but in that last 10 minutes when Mexico really tried to put the pressure on and tried to get a winner, I thought St. Clair really stepped up, really showed why he is a solid choice in between the sticks. And yeah, just a really good performance from him. Some split-second choices that proved to pay off as he kept a well-deserved clean sheet. I felt it would have been probably a bit cruel if he hadn't gotten that clean sheet. But well-earned. And yeah, just some really nice saves, So St. Clair and Crépeau, both of them had positive games in net, as we would expect from two class goalkeepers. Another positive is that this was a draw, not a loss. I know, we wanted the win. Of course we do. But it is important that we didn't lose either. And I know I've been pretty vocal about our moral victories, we drew this team, or we hung in there with this team. We drew a Mexico team that didn't go out there to play football. They went out there to kind of just disrupt us, and fair play to them. They did that. It was hard for us to find any real rhythm in the match, to really get any momentum, really anything at all, any joy, but we held strong. Our defense came up big. I think of that Alphonso Davies little block. It was the 88th minute probably, in around there. And of course those St. Clair moments. So as we would have wanted to win, of course, yes, but a draw still isn't the worst thing in the world. Another positive is Segor. I'm sorry, I heard the commentator say his name, and now I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. But Nico Segor is officially a Canadian player. I know he declared for us, of course, but now he's officially capped. So good to see a lot of hype and potential behind him. And I'm very excited to see what he can do in the red of Canada. I know Croatia have spoken very highly of him. And really anybody that knows anything about him, he's very versatile. He can play right back, can play in central mid position. So definitely one to watch as we kind of go forward. And I think it's very exciting to see him get his debut. I know he only got about 10 minutes and obviously wasn't the most entertaining match, but we still saw him get some minutes. he was introduced to us as a nation. So I think it's really exciting to see such a young, talented player decide to declare for Canada when he could have declared for Croatia. I'm sure there's probably other teams he probably could declare for too, but declares for Canada, and it's good to see him don the red for the first time. And a final positive is it looks like we got away with no injuries in this match, which is very good. Alistair Johnston, of course, went out in our first match, so it's good to see that we, knock on wood, we got off scot-free with no injuries. Some negatives. Terrible match. Just awful. I love watching this team. You guys know that. But, yeah, it was a terrible match. It really was. Just like I said earlier, no rhythm, no momentum. Mexico couldn't go 2 minutes without fouling. I know we commit our fair share of fouls as well, which I didn't even realize we had committed so many until I was looking at the stats. It didn't feel like that at all. Like, it felt like every 2 minutes the match was getting stopped, started, stop, start, stop, start. It's really hard to build any momentum, get any stranglehold on the game, really get anything positive when, any time you're trying to, you just literally get knocked down. Not figuratively, like literally you get knocked down. So definitely a negative. I think another negative is this is 6 goalless games under Jesse Marsch. Now, hey, I've given Jesse Marsch his credit. I've been critical of him when I feel like we've needed to be critical, which hasn't been often, but I have been extremely critical of the fact that we haven't been able to score. And yes, that was a problem under John Herdman towards the end of his tenure, and it looks like that has carried over with Jesse Marsch. I thought last game against the States, we probably should have had more than 2. This game, while we didn't have many chances, we did have one stellar chance with Kyle Larin, who headed the ball, and it was a great save by the Mexican goalkeeper. But the fact that that's our only real chance of the game that I can think of, I think that's saying something. It's saying something's maybe not clicking with our attack at the moment. Now, I actually do feel for Kyle Larin. It just feels like he can't buy a goal at the moment. He's doing everything right, but literally, like, when you see a keeper make a save like that, you just know that maybe luck's not on your side, because he's won that header against, I think there was like 2 Mexico players around him, gets enough power, places it beautifully, and the Mexico keeper still makes the stop. So, at what point do you just go, what, maybe luck's not on my side? So the fact that that is our only chance, though, is kind of worrying, I feel, because, to win games, you have to score goals. Our defense looks pretty sound for the most part. Really, the only time we've been blown away was by the Dutch in our first friendly against Jesse Marsch. Ever since then, we've been pretty good defensively, So that's not really a concern for us. I feel like a big concern is going forward, and, maybe when Tajon Buchanan comes back, if he can hit the form that he has hit for us in the past. Jonathan David is our real, I would say, star up front. We saw when he came in, he was kind of changing the game a little bit. Obviously, couldn't do too much when every 4 minutes the game's getting stopped. But you kind of see with Jonathan David. But outside of that, we're kind of struggling to find goals. I know Schaffelberg's exciting, but he's not necessarily a goal scorer. He'll create goals. He can chip in with goals, but we can't really count on Schaffelberg to get us, say, like a goal every few games. He'll pop up with a goal for sure, as he has, as we've seen, but just kind of looking at it, I just kind of think we're in a bit of a rut, I would say, for goal scoring, and it was kind of on display here and has been on display for a little bit. So just something to definitely keep an eye on. Marsch, I think, needs to do something about it. I don't know what you can really do about it. It's not like club football where you can just go, oh, we'll sign Erling Haaland. It's not like that. So we'll see what he can do. I do have faith that our boys are talented enough to turn it around. So just kind of concerning that 6 of the 10 games that Marsch has let us out, we've went scoreless in 6 of those 10. That's not good. That's over half, guys. I'm not a math guy, but that's over half. But now to fully contradict one of my positives, this was a draw, not a win. I do think that's a bit of a negative. I think that we can have a negative and a positive on this because, like I said, a draw is not a loss, so that's good. And, us being hacked down by Mexico every 45 seconds is definitely, I think it's a sign that Mexico understands how creative we can be, how good we can be. So one of the only ways to kind of stop us is to literally stop us, So I think that there's a positive in that, but I think there's a negative in the fact that we should have won this game. I know it's kind of hard to play against that, but our talent, the form we're in off of the Copa after beating the States, I do think it should have been a win, That's my opinion. Like I said, having watched the game, you do go, okay, a draw is probably a good result from this, but also just before the game, you're going, we should probably win this. It give us big CONCACAF bragging rights. We beat both the States and Mexico in a matter of a few days. That's my opinion. Like I said, I'm not saying a draw is the worst thing in the world, but a win, I think, would have really asserted some bragging rights over CONCACAF and has shown what Canadian fans have been saying, that we're the real deal. We're no longer just the third team out of States, Mexico, and Canada. No, we want to show that we're a contender in CONCACAF, and we want to show everyone how good we are and can be. But of course, it wasn't like that. We do get the draw. A win would have been nicer, but a draw is still good. But yeah, I think it's kind of a lackluster way to end the window, as I alluded to earlier. Just a 0-0 kind of dull draw. Not the best way to send people home until October, but definitely not the worst way either. So, positive and negative to it being a draw, I would say. Now looking at our player by player, this may be probably the shortest player by player I've probably done, as I didn't really see anybody really stick out. Once again, I think that's kind of a credit to just how the game kind of was. But we're going to start in goal. My man of the match would be Dane St. Clair. Like I said, came up big with those couple of saves towards the end there. I think there was one in particular that was just rifled at him, probably 10 minutes from time. And yeah, the shot was over him, just over him. So, you would kind of expect him to make that save, but just how close proximity the shot was taken at and how much venom was behind those laces. It's a great save, in my opinion. It's a phenomenal save, and it's a save that kind of helps him cling on to that clean sheet, and definitely something that he deserves, because I do think that Crépeau will be our number one, but it is great to see Dane St. Clair get some caps, get some minutes, because he deserves it too. He is a great goalkeeper, in my opinion, and if it wasn't for Crépeau being such an outstanding keeper, Dane St. Clair would be our number one. So I know, ironic that Dane St. Clair wears number one and Crépeau doesn't, but that's football, guys. It's confusing sometimes. But moving on to our defense, we'll go right to left. Richie Laryea, the fact that this is going to be a short player-by-player review is no negative on the players. It is a little bit, but it's not me trying to knock these players down. It's just the fact that, like I said, there was no rhyme or rhythm to this match. So I do apologize if these are a little bit short, but Richie Laryea, he got forward, he defended well. There wasn't really a whole ton that he could do. He found it hard to create, as everyone did. He defended well, I thought. I thought he really kind of kept the Mexico and the Mexican attacks kind of pretty quiet. I think he did his job well enough, for the type of game it was. Our two center backs, Bombito and Cornelius, I thought it was more solid minutes for them. Bombito looked a little bit shaky. He got caught in the ball once, got a little bit lucky, but I'm sure with time and with maturity, he will kind of shake that out of his system. We know how good he is. We know how good he can be. And in the end, the move didn't cost us nothing. So, just those lapses of concentration are what he needs to kind of shake out of his game, because we know he's class, right? But he also is a player that hasn't been playing professionally extremely long. So we got to expect this stuff. He's not going to put on a 10 out of 10 every single game. And I'm not saying he was bad by any means in this match. I thought he was pretty good. Just those moments of lapses, I think he needs to kind of shake over his system. And I do think that will come with time. Derek Cornelius, once again, I thought he was extremely solid. I mean, he's really, I'm loving this career revival of Derek Cornelius. I mean, who would have thought that Derek Cornelius would have been our starting center back, because he was always in and out of the team, never really solidified himself as a starter, but he was always right there, and now to see him here getting these minutes, I mean, that our center backs are going to be Bombito and Cornelius, barring any, knocking on wood here, any injury or suspension. So it's great to see Derek Cornelius. Once again, I don't think he had a whole ton to do. I mean, he looks confident on the ball, building up from the back when he could. He looked good. And, yeah, I mean, solid outing for both of our center backs, I would say. Moving on to left back, Alphonso Davies. I actually thought this was quite the good performance from Alphonso Davies. He did try to carry the ball forward quite a bit, and I give him credit for that, because I think he kind of realized that Mexico is not really going to let us kind of create or build from the back, as I kind of allude to with Cornelius. He tried to, but he couldn't a whole ton. So Alphonso Davies, he's great at carrying the ball. One of the best dribblers, I would say, probably in the world. Is that a hot take? I don't know. But definitely one of the best dribblers out there, I would say. So he'd carry the ball forward. And I think he realized that Mexico's conceding these fouls. If he can maybe get into good positions, maybe he could get fouled in a good spot. It never really got to that, but you could see he was carrying the ball forward. He was ready to take a foul if he had to. And I thought it was a really good performance. And as I said earlier, he made a crucial block in the dying minutes of the game. So, I mean, just good from Canada's captain, I would say. And, it was a hard game to kind of attack and get forward for. So it was good to see him kind of at least trying to get forward and attack. But yeah, I think it was a solid outing. Moving into our midfield, we're going to start with our number 7, Stefan Eustaquio. I thought, once again, like most of our guys, kind of struggled to really get into that rhythm. This type of game I don't think really suited Eustaquio, because he is a guy that needs time on the ball. He likes to try and hold possession, build up play. He didn't really get to show that here. That's not me saying he was awful. I just don't think he really got to get involved in the game as he would have liked to. So I don't really have a whole ton to say on him. His midfield partner, Chouanier, once again, not a whole ton to say. I thought he linked up well with Liam Miller. I will say that much. I do think the two of them linked up really well. It's great to see Chouanier have been given a chance, and I think he really ran with it when he could, especially in that States game. And here, he did what he could. Like Eustaquio, it was hard for him to get involved. I think him and Eustaquio, contributed well defensively, but just really couldn't help contribute to our build-up, because there really wasn't much build-up. Looking at Jonathan Osorio, much like the two I just mentioned, shocking here, guys. He struggled to get into the game, struggled to really find that rhythm. Jonathan Osorio is the kind of guy that really thrives on getting to operate in these pockets of space, getting time on the ball, seeing the game kind of play out. And when there isn't much game to see play out, it is kind of hard for you to really get a grasp on the game. And I don't think he was bad. It's just he didn't really get the chance to show off his best qualities. Looking on the right, Ali Ahmed, not as amazing as he was against the States, but once again, when you can't attack, it's a bit difficult. So I thought he was good. He tried to carry the ball forward. He at least looked up for it. And I think that is something that is a positive, is all of our players looked up for it. Like, you could tell they wanted to get something from this game. It was just extremely difficult playing against in this type of game, this type of atmosphere. It was really difficult. And Ali Ahmed definitely tried, once again, wasn't bad, just couldn't really get a grasp, a stranglehold on that game, couldn't really show off his attacking flair. He did do it a few times, but couldn't really show it off as much as he would have wanted to. And I am happy that he's getting these caps for sure, because it does show that we do have that depth. Tajon Buchanan's out, and he will be out for the next little bit. So it's good to see someone step up here and show, hey, just because X, Y, or Z went out, you got me, and I can do the job here. So it is great to see. Looking at the left, Liam Miller, I thought he was getting into really good positions. He was found really well a few times by Eustáquio and Chouanier. Just, when you're marked by 2-3 players, it is always going to be a bit tricky. You could tell he was kind of a bit frustrated trying to make stuff happen, but he just really couldn't as much as he would have liked to. And it's a shame, because I really thought this could have been an opportunity for Liam Miller to really kind of show Canada that he is a very good player. And because I know Schaffelberg is occupying that left wing spot, so with no Schaffelberg in the team, it would have been a great chance for Liam Miller to show what he can do. I do think he showed it in very minor glimpses, but like I said, when you're marked by about 2 players, it is a bit tricky. And just a few times couldn't get the ball out of his feet, just those little things when, like I said, you're marked. It is rather difficult. But I do think he was good. You could tell, once again, he was trying to make things happen on the attacking front. He did link up well with Chouanier. But, yeah, it just wasn't happening for us on the attacking end on the day. So, we move on. We move forward, guys. Looking at Kyle Larin, I kind of already talked about him. He did everything right except for get that goal. Kind of the story of Larin over the last little bit. I do feel for him. I do think he deserves a goal, and I think people need to just back him. I see on Twitter and Instagram he gets kind of torn apart a little bit, and I think that we need to remember that we got to back these boys. That's my opinion. It's doing them no good to sit on Twitter and say this guy, he shouldn't be in, I think we got to just back them. Just back them. That's my opinion. I'm not saying don't be critical, but we can see that he's doing everything right. He's just not getting that goal, and I can imagine that his confidence probably isn't the best. So we should get behind him, kind of show, that we can see that he's doing well. Just that goal will come, and I think once that goal comes, I think that could do a world of good for his confidence. He needs to start scoring on the club level and international stage. I think that's really what it comes down to. Looking at our subs, of course, Jonathan David came in the 62nd. You can see how important he is to this Jesse Marsh team. He came on, and our attacking sense changed a little bit. It didn't change, I think, as much as we would have wanted it to, but you could still see the change there. You can see how crucial he is to build up play, to trying to get a goal, trying to create chances. You can see how crucial he is, and he is the best striker in CONCACAF. I would say probably a top 10 in the world, and he is showing that maturity now of he knows how good he is too. Like, he's got that confidence, but not in an arrogant kind of way. It's really fun because he knows he's really good, but he's not arrogant about it. He seems like a very humble guy when he's on the pitch, but he does know that he is that good. And it's just fun to see that we do have players like that now, when 15 years ago we could have only prayed for that. In came Tani Oluwaseyi in the 77th minute, and yeah, he much like most of our attackers, guys, kind of really struggled to get into the game. Kind of really didn't really have any chances to my recollection. He pressed well, he was probably in good positions. Yeah, we just struggle in the attacking sense. I don't have much to say about Tani. I'm sorry, Tani, if you listen. And of course, we talked about Seager. I thought he looked bright, at least. There was a couple chances where he got to bomb forward. Of course, nothing really amounted from them, but he got to bomb forward a good few times, and it is, like I said, just good to see him playing in the red. And then Afrafra also came on with them. Same as every other attacker. It's just good to see a young guy getting a chance. and getting another cap. I know he made his debut against the State, so it's good to see him get rewarded with a little bit of trust from Jesse Marsch. Obviously, I would assume he must have impressed Marsch for Marsch to turn to him and bring him off the bench here. So it's good to see he's obviously doing something right, and hopefully it's his second cap of many. In came Kamal Miller in the 84th, and I do feel for Kamal Miller. I'm a big fan of Kamal, and it's just too bad that now we got Bombito and Cornelius playing in great form at the moment. I do think Kamal Miller's time will come again. I think he's too good for it not to. He's much like Bombito and Cornelius. He's good on the ball, great defensively, and I think it's just Marsch likes how Cornelius and Bombito play together. But Kamal Miller, I don't think we should forget about him. I think he will be back into this team, I think, getting crucial big minutes again. It's just not happening at the moment. But like I said, I'm a big fan of him. I think he is a very good center back. And we'll see how his kind of career develops under his international career, I should say. How his international career develops under Jesse Marsch. Like I said, I think his time will come again for us. But just at the moment, I just think that Cornelius and Bombito have struck up a good partnership, and Kamal Miller is just kind of a casualty of that. Because to me, before Jesse Marsch came in, he was our center back. I thought, Jesse Marsch was going to love him. Not saying Jesse Marsch doesn't, obviously, but Kamal Miller gets about 6-minute run out here. I'm glad that he got the cap. I mean, he deserves all the playing time. I'm a bit biased. I like Kamal. But our last substitution was Russell Rowe. Once again, didn't get a whole ton. I'm sorry, guys. Take a shot every time I say he didn't get a whole ton to do. You'd be hammered. But yeah, no. I thought it was good to at least see him get the minutes. I know minutes have been few and far between for him, as that striker spot is kind of occupied by David, Laren, and then it looks like Olosehi just behind them. And then I'll probably say it's between Bear and Russell Rowe. I know Bear is injured right now, but it seems like that's kind of the pecking order at the moment. So it was just good to see him get the minutes, get a cap, and I'm sure eventually, maybe under Marsch, he will get a start, a run of games even maybe. We'll see how it all plays out for him. He is still young. He's doing great at Columbus Crew right now. So there's a player there, one to watch, I would say, at the moment, and we'll see how it plays out for him. Great to see him get a little run out, little cameo. It's always good to see when some of the young boys get in here. But yeah, so international break. Done and dusted. It's done. We waited so long for that, I felt. We ended our Copa in July, and we waited the rest of July, August, and half of September, and it came and went. There it is, done. Like I said, lackluster way to end it, but I don't think that should tarnish I think what is still a positive international break. I mean, 4 out of 6 points, if this was like a group stage or league, I think it's definitely a positive, I would say. Beating the States is always a positive. And Mexico, it's a testament to us how the tide is turning, I think, because years ago, Mexico would have came in and have played their football and most likely beaten us. But now we came in as the favorites, and Mexico knew that, and they didn't know how to stop us other than to just hack us down. And I think that's a testament to the fact that these teams, these players, managers are noticing that we're not just going to roll over. Like, we're not that team of a decade ago where it was, oh, we're playing Canada. How many do you guys want to score? It's not like that anymore. And I think that it's almost a comment in a sense to say, these guys have come a long way. And it is good. So, I'm not going to sit here and say a draw is the best result in the world, but I'm also not going to sit here and say a draw is the worst result in the world. It's a fine result after a great result, I would say. And, if you had asked me at the beginning of the window if a draw and a win would be good, I would say, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Obviously, you always want as many wins as you can, but a draw and a win ain't bad. Like I said, especially how 10 years ago it was different. Even probably 5 years ago, it was different. So it is good to see that we're kind of putting nations, teams, players on notice. and it's good to see that our hard work is paying off, and I do appreciate that. But that is me done with Canada International break. Until October, of course, where we will be playing Panama at BMO Field. I sadly will not be at the game. I wish I was, but I will not be there. I'll be elsewhere, so I can't complain too much. But it will be good. It will be good to watch them play Panama, see how that game goes. Of course, we'll cover that, and any other big Canada news that comes out, we'll cover it too. But until next time, and until our next international break, please say it's not over just yet. I'm now realizing that it's over, and I'm not too happy about that. But until then, keep following along. I do appreciate you listening, and follow me everywhere at official Sam Little and all that fun stuff. But yeah, until next time, everyone. Cheers.
And that was your Maple Footy podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates at Official Sam Little on Instagram, where I am most active. And until next time, live, laugh, little.